there, Stampers. This is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Alberta, Canada. And today in this video, I'm going to share these three fun cards using the More Than Autumn bundle from the Stampin' Up! September to December 2024 mini catalog, also known as the holiday catalog. So this is such a fun bundle. If you love the fall season, or if you love fancy coffees and treats, this is such a great bundle to play with. But not only for making cards, but it's also fabulous for scrapbooking as well. So we're going to use that to make these three cards today. And I've combined it with some of the Iconic Celebrations DSP. This is a 6x6 pattern paper that can be found in the online exclusives section of our website. And you can see that this paper kind of covers all occasions. So there's some kind of celebratory ones. There's some kind of wintry ones. There's fall, there's Christmas, there's some New Year's. You've got some plaid, you've got some champagne glasses, some candy canes, some trees, and then we can flip it over and you've got even more patterns. So some stars, some plaid, some snowflakes, candles, some leaves, some pine boughs. So a little bit of everything in this paper pack. So it combines beautifully with the More Than Autumn bundle. And I've also used some of these pecan pie and clear ribboned adhesive backed dots. So they come in clear and pecan pie, just like the name says. And these are also found in the online exclusive section of the website. I will have in the description a link with all the supplies that I used today. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. For this first one, I'm not using any pattern paper. And I will also link to the blog post where you can find all of the measurements. So I won't go through the measurements in the video, but I will link to the blog post to where you can find all of those measurements. Okay. All right. So I've got a scrap piece of white here, and we're going to do our stamping first. I'm using Memento because I am coloring in using Stampin' Blends. So I'm going to stamp 3 of these donuts. So Stampin' Blends are an alcohol marker. So when you color in with an alcohol marker, you want to use a water-based ink so that it doesn't bleed. All right, so we've got that. And then I'm also going to stamp the word donuts on here, and I'm going to use Petal Pink ink. And then we're going to do some coloring. So I am going to use light pecan pie to color the donut. I'm going to use Petal Pink, both light and dark, for one of the donuts. Calypso Coral, both light and dark, for another donut. And Pumpkin Pie, both light and dark, for the other donut. All right. So I'm going to color this donut bit. So just around the edges where you can see it's not covered with icing, I'm coloring in with the pecan pie. I'm not bothering with any shading or anything because this is just a small little area. And then right here in the center. Okay. And then I'm going to take my dark color. So I've got my dark Petal Pink, and I'm going to go around the edges of the icing. And then color in the rest with the light. And I'll repeat that with the other 2 donuts. Okay, once all of your images have been colored in, you're going to take the coordinating die, so this die here, you'll die cut the 3 donuts, and you'll use your snips to fussy cut the word donuts. Okay. So now we've got 2 sizes of white. The smaller of the 2 is meant for the outside, And I'm just going to adhere this to our pecan pie layer. And then this to our card base. Okay. And I have gone ahead and I've die cut this piece, which is one of the dies from the More Than Autumn die set. It says nothing's better than. I cut it from some pecan pie cardstock, and I did add adhesive sheets to the back, so that will turn it into a sticker. I'm not going to remove that sticker just yet. I'm just going to position this kind of where I want it. And then I'm going to start with my middle donut. I'll add some dimensionals to the back of all of these. And I'm going to position the middle one where I want it. And then I'm going to use that as a guide for the other two. Now I'm ready to add this piece. Now I like to use my tweezers when I do this. I'm just trying to grab them here. So I can peel off the backing. And I'm just going to carefully do it so it doesn't stretch it. And then double check that all the pieces have been popped out. So the center of my O is still there. So get that out. And then I'm going to use my tweezers to help me kind of make sure that this is straight. That way my hands don't get in the way. Okay, that looks good. Then the word donuts can go on. That is popped up using dimensionals as well. And then we can finish it off with some of our pecan dots. And there's the outside done. I did not do anything on the inside. I think this would make a really cute either thank you card or birthday card. So I'm going to leave it blank until I decide what I want to use it for. So I'm just going to leave that in there just like that. And there is card number 1. Okay, now moving on to our second card, which is going to be a more fall themed card. Okay, in this one, I did take some of the Iconic Celebrations DSP and I cut it down. So I've chosen one pattern. I'm going to use both sides of that one pattern. This piece measures 3/4 by 4 inches, and this one is 1/4 of an inch by 4 inches. So this entire piece together is 1 by 4, and then I just cut 1/4 of an inch off. Okay, we're going to set these pieces aside for now, and we're going to bring in these two pieces and do some stamping and some ink blending. So the first thing I'm going to do is let's do our stamping on here first. Again, I'm coloring in using Stampin' Blends, so I am going to use Memento ink for all the projects. That way I don't have to repeat myself. I'm just going to stamp this and the foam and the little pumpkin. And I'm going to clean this because I'm going to use this in a different color in a little bit. Okay, so that's it for Memento. Now I'm going to bring in a little bit of Cajun Craze ink. And I'm going to use a blending brush. And I forgot to grab a scrap. Let's just use the back of this. I'm just going to tap off some of the excess ink on a scrap piece of paper. And then I'm very lightly going to add a little bit of ink blending right behind where my focal point is going to go. So about like that. And then we're going to take our pumpkin and I'm going to stamp off just on this scrap piece. And I'll stamp once there. I'm going to stamp off again. Once about there. And we'll do one more. This is just so that we have a little bit more of a subtle background. just a little bit of extra detail. Okay, and then we're going to do two more things to this piece. I'm going to take my dark pecan pie blend and I'm going to splatter. So that's a great way to add like a nice fine splatter to your background. And then I'm going to distress the edges. And I tore it there, but that's okay. You'll see what I do when that happens. Okay, so where this piece is torn, I'm just going to actually curl it back to make it look like it was done on purpose. And look at that. It looks like it was intended to be like that, right? Okay, now we can add our pieces. And then I've got a piece of pecan pie center stripe ribbon. It's cut just a little bit larger or a little bit wider than our cardstock width. And I'm going to use a little bit of seal. You can also use mini glue dots. And this is ready to put on our card base. Okay, now we're ready to start working on this piece. So I'm going to start by coloring in the pumpkin. I'm going to use some dark pumpkin pie and just the outer edges of the pumpkin, and I will add a little bit of detail to the top and bottom of the pumpkin, just like that. And then I'll color in the rest using my light pumpkin pie, leaving just a little bit of white showing. Then we're going to move on to some Mossy Meadow, and I'm going to use a little bit of dark. This is going to be for the band around the coffee cup. So I'm just adding a little bit of dark and then going across the bottom. And then I'll fill it in with light. Okay, and then for the coffee cup, I'm going to use some ivory and some light and dark pumpkin pie. Or not pumpkin pie, pecan pie. So I'm going to start with my dark pecan, so the darkest color, and go right across the top and just a thin little layer down each side and the bottom. And then I'll bring in some light, and I'm going to just add another little bit of layer, or a little bit of color. Just bring that color a little further in, not too far. And then I'm going to take the ivory, which is part of the ivory and bronze combo, and I'm going to color in the rest, leaving a little bit of white. Okay, so I'm going to bring this a little closer. Now, because there's such a big distinction between the light pecan pie and the ivory, that it doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look the best. So what I'm going to do to fix that, to blend those colors a little bit better, I'm going to take the brush tip of my ivory and kind of color over from the edges and pull that color in. This will just add another layer of color, make that lightest color a little bit darker, but it will also allow those colors to blend a little bit better so that you don't see that distinction so much. So can you see the difference? All right, now we're gonna add a little bit of shading to our whipped cream. So I'm just gonna take my ivory and just add just a few little lines here and there. There we go. Okay, so it doesn't add a lot. I didn't color the whole thing in. I just added some hints of like almost like shadows. Okay, now we're gonna die cut that. That's gonna cut the coffee cup, and this will cut the whipped cream. So I've got those pieces done. And then from this piece of Mossy Meadow, I die cut 2 leaves. And I also cut an extra, like one of those leaves out of the center of a piece, because we're going to use that as a mask on the inside of our card. But we're going to finish off the outside first. So for our coffee cup, we're going to flip this over. So I position this so that it's overlapping the top of the cup just a little bit. And we're going to use some dimensionals. So I'm going to overlap that. That's going to hold those 2 pieces together. Peel off the backing. And then this is going to go on here like that. Our leaves will get tucked in behind. So I'm just kind of curling them up. I'm going to use a little bit of multi-purpose glue right here and tuck these in behind. If you guys are loving these cards and you love this bundle, make sure that you check out this month's class to go. I'll have it linked in the description where you can find more information. And if you've missed the deadline, the tutorial will be available to purchase. But Laura Milligan and I have partnered together to create 6 fun cards using this same collection of products. And you'll love the cards that we're sharing in that class. All right, and there's an option for anyone. It doesn't for everyone. It doesn't matter where you live, there is an option because you can purchase the tutorial if you live outside of Canada. All right, so I'm just adding a little bow tied from some vanilla baker's twine. And then we're going to add our little dots. So I'm using some of those pecan ribboned dots here and here. And there's the outside. And then what I did for the inside was I stamped "Pumpkin Season is the Best." And I used, so I added a little bit of Cajun ink blending in behind. And I used this as a stencil with some Mossy Meadow ink to add some of those leaves. You could also do that to add that to your envelope as well. So you could stamp, you could even, if you didn't want to do this, you could turn it into a birthday card and you could stamp "Happy Birthday" on the inside, but it's just a fun fall themed card. All right, so that is card number 2. Now moving on to card number 3. Okay, let's not lose these little things here. Okay, we're going to set this piece aside for now, and we're going to take these 2 pieces and attach them. And if you've got anything sticking off, just trim that overhang. Okay, now we are going to start just like we did with the previous card. So we're going to add a little bit of ink blending to the background, except this time we're going to do "Pool Party." And I'm just going to add a little bit of "Pool Party" kind of up the center of this white area. Okay, and that's all we need the pool party for. Now we're going to do some stamping. So I'm going to bring this in and my Memento ink. And I really just need the band. So I don't need the whole coffee cup. So it's just a scrap piece of whatever pattern paper you're using is great. Okay, I want to get rid of this ink that's on here so I don't get it all over my card. Okay, now we're going to do some paper piecing. So I'm going to cut right along the line. So if you've seen me do fussy cutting before, you know that I always like to leave a little bit of a border around the outside edges. I say that it's a little bit more forgiving. It doesn't show your imperfections as much as if you were to cut right on the line. But when you're doing this technique, you want to cut right on the stamped image. You don't have to cut on the inside of it. You can leave some of that black so you can see that that black line is still around the edges. But then when I go to put it on here, it blends nicely with what's on there. So that's the look that you're going for. Okay, so now we're going to color our coffee cup. This time we're going to have a cherry cobbler cup. So I'm using some cherry cobbler and I'm just going to do two colors. So just the dark and the light cherry cobbler. I'm going to start just like I did with the pecan pie. So just a little bit of dark, kind of going around the edges. And then I'll fill in the rest with the light. Okay, and then for the whipped cream, I did the same thing where I just added a little bit of ivory highlights and then die cut them. And I've got those two pieces there. All right, now we're going to, actually let's assemble our coffee cup. Just put a little bit of glue on here, position that on there. And this is a fun way to add a patterned belly band or what do you call it, coffee sleeve on here. And we'll line these up, flip them over. We use a couple dimensionals just like we did. And then I'm going to position this on here. I'm not going to stick it down yet, so I still have the backing on my dimensionals, but I'm going to position this where I want it. And now I'm going to bring in a greeting set. Now I didn't want to use any of the greetings that were in the More Than Autumn stamp set. I wanted to turn this into a little bit more Christmassy of a card with more Christmassy greetings. So I'm going to use the Be Merry on the outside and Celebrate the Holidays in All Ways on the inside. So I'm going to bring back my Memento ink. Now we're going to bring in some cherry cobbler ink. We're going to set this card base aside. We're going to bring back this piece. And we're going to add some candy canes. Okay, that should be good. We just want a few little candy canes peeing out from behind. Now we can peel this off, stick our coffee cup down. I feel like we need to add one more candy cane. Okay. And then this goes on the front of our card. And I'm going to use dimensionals like this. So we have about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Like that. All right, and then we're going to add some of the clear ribbon dots. And of course, a little baker's twine bow. And there we go. There is our third card. So let me bring them all back in so you can see them. So we've got card number 3, card number 2, and card number 1. So remember, I've attached a full supply list in the description below. If there's anything that you'd like to order, you can click those links. It'll take you right to my Canadian online store. And if you enjoyed this video and are not yet a subscriber, hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future videos. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.